All right, and there it is. Aaron Rostovsky has joined us, and he's ready to play. He's even got the visor on thing.
Forgot to tell you I was ready for Halloween.
Everybody, welcome to the Huskers Happy Hour. We've especially got a lot to talk about tonight. We'll go over the Ohio State game a little. And my question tonight to start thinking about is just who the hell are we now? In case you're not familiar with being 5-3 and having 4 games left to become bowl eligible, that maybe you are, because we just did it last year, and here we go again. 2 weeks ago, we were wondering if we got a shot. Now we feel like it's a little better, but who's going to show up? Is it going to be the Dr. Jekyll that gave Ohio State a scare in Columbus, or is it going to be the Mr. Hyde that got shellacked 56-7 by Indiana? Because we all know that you can't trust these sudden corner turns against the good teams, but let's hope we can for UCLA. Joining me for as long as he wants to stay tonight is Aaron Rostovsky. Aaron, I didn't get a chance to say it when we were chatting for about a minute before we came on, but thank you very much for doing this. Love having you here.
Absolutely. Anytime?
Yep.
Well, anytime I'm not working.
Now, was it the Bull Durham podcast you joined me on, or was it Necessary Roughness?
Necessary Roughness.
Okay, because and that was my first movie pod, so he got to write on the maiden voyage of all the right movies, and so just love having him on. We think alike in a lot of ways. I think about a lot of stuff just from how we talk on Slack chat. And when we don't, it doesn't turn into all-out war. We disagree on a few things, but we see kind of eye to eye most of the time, I think.
Mainly on colors of pants.
Yes, that was our big one.
Drove a wedge between us.
Well, you know what? The way the last 2 weeks played out, I couldn't be happier with knowing I was right. I even made a comment on the coordination when Ohio State, or when we rolled out for the Ohio State game, and I was like, I can't be happier that the Red Pants are on this weekend. There may be no logical reason for it, but God damn it, that superstition kicks us in the balls over and over. But we're not here to talk about the white pants tonight. Let's start off. I want to do a quick plug for a movie. This will be fast, and I might be doing a lot more for it later. But I just watched the movie Resball. I was just telling Aaron about it, and if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's based on a true story of a native reservation team there that won the state championship, and it's really good. It's heartbreaking. It's funny. It without throwing it in your face, it shows you what some of the effects that like reservation policies, how things play out there with alcoholism and suicide rates, how those affect the lives of people. But it's not just like tears and misery. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. It's a good group of actors, and one of the guys in the reason I really bring it up here is one of the actors in that group is former Nebraska point guard Sam Greisel. I like to joke that he's pretty good in it. He gets interviewed some like on sports shows, so he has some lines. And when you've got a 6'8" point guard playing a high school player, you've got 6'8" Sam out there just windmilling dunks, drilling threes left and right. And it's like, God, can we have him back for a year? I believe he's playing professionally in Germany right now, but he's in this movie, and he's what I like to call the evil white guy. But in their lives, there's a lot of evil white guys, and he plays the part. He plays the part well to a T. He's not all over the movie, but he pops up all through it, and at the end, and he's really very, very good playing that role. It's got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting great reviews. It's not cheaply done at all. It's very, very high quality made movie. LeBron James is one of the producers, and I just wanted to throw it out there. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then I highly recommend it for you.
You'll have to get my watch out with my dad, because he's off right now playing 78-year-old baseball down in Arizona somewhere. But
I didn't know it went that high.
Yeah,
I keep getting asked to play
not
like
just 6-0 anymore.
Yeah, I keep getting asked to play like the 50+ softball, and it sounds great, and then I end up blowing it off because I want to hike and golf and other shit.
When he gets back, because he used to coach up in Winnebago on the reservation.
No kidding. Yeah.
Almost all the Winnebago tribe councils are all his players. So
No
He was their
kidding. See
national
it. We
coach.
played Winnebago all the time because I went to a Class D school, Omaha BT, Brownell Talbot here in town, and we would play Macy and Winnebago, and there was one other one that was more north central, and dang it, their name slips me right now, but yeah, it's kind of jarring when you actually get a look at the conditions up there riding in, and this movie just like puts you on a reservation with I think the boys high school team has a female coach who's a former WNBA player, so that they jolt a lot of that, and she's got a history of her own. It's just a cool movie. I don't want to talk about it all night tonight, but highly recommend it. I'm gonna start off real quick. We're just gonna go over a few numbers from Ohio State that I want to point out, and jump in anytime you want, Aaron. We'll run through those. We'll take some comments. We're going to talk about the reffing too. That the reffing's getting a big old fucking spotlight shined on it nationally. I don't know why suddenly everyone in the country was watching and went, "What the hell are they doing?" Because Jay Foreman was on his show going, "It's got to be a conscious decision. It can't just happen like this, and it's not just us, but there's certain teams that just get the love and protection. We get a little extra of the hate for." Against some of the other middling teams. Why, I don't know. But all of a sudden, everybody's going, we saw this. This is real. What the hell? It's like anytime Nebraska did anything, here came a non-call or a shitty mark or this or that. And let me just show you. But no, I'll save that for the ref section before I go into it. And save comments for the refs. We'll do a bunch on the refs when we start really rolling on the comments, like on the back half of the show. First thing, Nebraska's defense. And I'd written about them, and I'd questioned, can they get it done against, a top-notch offense? The highest-ranked offense they'd played up till Indiana this year, and including all of last year, was ranked 62nd in the country in yards per game. So we're doing fine, but we're not exactly. Then we played Indiana's offense and got trucked. I mean, that was like, the thing is, that was like 343 yards in the first half. But now we got Ohio State coming in, who's a top 5 offense, and we're like, oh God, with more talent. We held their top 2 rushers, who were averaging, I think, like 6.9 and 8 yards per carry. Judkins, we held to 10 carries for 29 yards, and Travion Henderson, 10 carries for 25 yards. Adjusted without the sacks, they carried 29 times for 74 yards and a 2.6 per yard per carry average. They showed up. Go ahead.
Not just that, but the switching from kind of a 3-man front, because we realized that we kind of thought we were going to get dominated a little bit up front, I think, on defense, because we were playing that 3 front and kind of hoping that we could shed everything back to the linebackers, and then we realized, hey, we're putting a lot of pressure on them. So we threw another lineman in there, and
yes, we did.
Man, they couldn't even handle it.
And Butler
was just walking guys back, and
he learned that one against Rutgers, because Rutgers is after a first quarter of getting shredded by Ragnani.
Yeah, I'd never remember his name.
I know. I also
really
never
should.
Their quarterback name again, Kaliak man. But more importantly, I never want to use it in an article again, because I'm like, holy crap. Okay, Kal. I'm doing it in my head. But anyway, the rushing got it done. The passing was not a disaster either. On paper, Will Howard has a day, 13 of 16, 221 yards, but it was 2 plays. Two plays where they, popped the top on our defense. He tried to underthrow the first one, and it still got there ahead of us. But I think that was Carnell Tate for 40 yards, and then to freshman phenom Jeremiah Smith for 60. But
man, that guy is crazy.
Matt Smith, 2 catches for 10. I would take that. Smith's that's an incredible talent there. And let's see. Then they were getting on us for our third downs at one point. We finished 5 for 16. Ohio State finished 1 for 10.
Yeah, that's
getting it done. That's getting it done. On our side, let's see. I'll save Dylan's stats for last, because that opens up, I think, the other can of worms from that game. And you're laughing like you know what I'm talking about. Dylan adjusted for sacks, carried 6 times for 52 yards. Let's keep scrambling. And somebody had just tweeted before I got on the air tonight, does our offensive coordinator want to lose his job? Because he was like, kind of neat to see he could run like that. Didn't really know about that. And it's like, That's your freaking quarterback, dude. And if you watch some of his high school stuff, he's not a speedster, but he's quick and he can go get you a few yards if you hand him. He's not Peyton Manning back there, for crying out loud. But he had a good game. Dowdell, an effective 14 for 60 overall, adjusted without the sacks, 30 carries, 142 yards, and a 4.7 average. Why do we lose this game? We know why. The yards were just about even. I think they outgained us by about 12. We're still using Ja'Cory Barney on a lot of short stuff. I don't get that because I think he's one of the fastest guys on the team. Last week I called out, we've got our fast guy and we're using him as our possession receiver because he's only averaging 6.7 yards a catch. And you do it again, 7 catches for 49. And then Fedone with 4 for 55. And then against the two biggest opponents, Fedone's kind of stepped it up. Gotten open. He had 91 yards receiving against Indiana. And then we got Dillon, 21 of 32 for 152 yards, 0 TDs and a pick. That's like one of those NFL lines that used to happen a lot. And I want to say in the 90s where I started making jokes that they should change like Madden 97's name to Dump Pass 97 because it just felt like the NFL was just dump. Guys were going like 28 of 43 for 190 yards. And
I'm seeing that a lot in Denver right now with Bo Nix getting his feet wet.
And this isn't the arm. This guy doesn't have an arm where you should just be dumping and screening to death. Aaron, what were your thoughts on our play calling?
Oh my God. So yeah, I watched one of our competitors' show right away after the game since they had it on, and boy, every comment was either A, about the refs, or B, about Jesus Christ, can we stop fucking throwing swing passes? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, there's definitely a spot that you have to have that in your arsenal, and you have to unveil it a few times a game to keep those defensive linemen from just teeing off on Raiola. But my God, doing twice on one drive when the first one had 0, I forget what the stat was, but we were like negative 12 yards on those plays or something like that. If I remember right.
It wasn't good.
It wasn't. I mean, you got to whip it out like 3-4 times, but beyond that, when you're seeing 0, like, did any of them work? I don't think any of them worked.
I wrote a recap that here we are. We got the targeting call. Miraculously, it was upheld. Oh, and for those who want to talk about rig shit, they already overturned the suspension. The Big Ten already overturned it. I read somewhere. Thanks, Big Ten. And by their definition, that was targeting. It's like, yeah, he missed him with the crown. He got him with a pretty good forearm shiver, it looked like. Just missing the head there. So by the way they define it, and to me, I'm just like, it's such an arbitrary, no one calls it the same rule. I just wish they'd get rid of it, or I wish they'd define it in such a way that it's not being interpreted differently every game. And refs basically are just choosing, the Big Ten especially, just by the jersey number, that determines most of the time whether it's targeting or not. So I was just absolutely flabbergasted they didn't overturn that, especially after Rutgers committed 3 of them, clearly committed 3 of them, and they made the one guy pick his flag up once and overturn the other 2. And it's just, okay, we'll save that more for refs. But I wrote all of a sudden we get
I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot this podcast.
Yeah, we get the catch, we get plus 15. We're ready to roll. I think we're just inside their territory. So of course we start off with an illegal procedure or a jumped or something, false start, because we just have to do that in that situation whenever we get close. And then screen right for 2 or screen up the middle for -1, and boom, the screens once again put us in 3rd and long, and we didn't get it. And yeah, just I don't know, just absolutely baffling. They played well enough to win, I thought, even overall. And I want to congratulate Texas. I've explained here to people, Georgia's if Nebraska's my, where I went, my number 1, Georgia's my 1A just because of family, and I literally grew up cheering for them. So I really enjoyed watching them put it to Texas, despite the refs getting involved in that game, and Texas getting a call overturned by throwing shit on the field. where the referees did two things. One, you could see them watching it a couple of them watching it on the scoreboard, and then they start talking about it. Refs are not allowed to check the scoreboard replays. And then they actually begin discussing it while they're begging the students to stop and cleaning up the field. So we found out it didn't even take one full week. Ohio State didn't like a targeting call. Throw shit on the field and see if they can get the referees talking during the delay and overturn it.
Yeah, that's another thing this year. I've seen more just random calls being picked up with no explanation. Like I was watching one of the Minnesota games where USC, where something happened, and then all of a sudden the flag was, it was the touchdown call. They like marked him short, and then nothing was happening. Then all of a sudden, just like a minute and a half later, it's a touchdown. Like no review, nothing. Just all of a sudden, I've never seen so many like unexplained, unreviewed calls just being changed out of nowhere.
There is no flag. What? I saw one. But I'll tell you that I'll save this for. It's like I had a great. Remind me if I forget. An amazing, just little ref thing I saw in the Rutgers game that I want to share that I just happened to be watching from the press box, and I don't know why I chose to watch it. And then what this guy tried to do, and the guy and his crew would, no, you're not doing that. Let's go ahead and start with some comments. See who's here with us tonight. Highlander Gun and Justin Rogie kind of have a little competition once I post the broadcast like the day before or the night before on YouTube Live, and they'd like to have a little contest to see who can jump in the comments like the day before. I'm first, and tonight's winner is Highlander Gun. Congratulations. Oh, wait a minute. Now Justin saying, no, I was first. Quit cheating, Highlander. Justin, literally 20 minutes ago, my message was there. Oh, well, I'm going to let you two find it. Highlanders, the old switcheroo. so sometimes it resets. Refs blow. So, sorry. Yeah, Monongai. Thank you. Braska Rascal, Monongai. I was getting it right for so long, but
I know.
Shit, you get a little older, I guess, and now I'm just down to like there's no more. The brain is at full capacity, and new stuff comes in, and just old stuff gets kicked out. Oh shit! Here we go. If any of you are taking your kids trick or treating, I hear Satterfield is handing out screen passes for Halloween. No kidding. And then the kid's getting tackled by a Frankenstein kid, for no gain. Refs are fine, satisfying, everything is fine. Aaron, we don't sip Kool-Aid on this show, buddy. Choose your own pollutant, but I don't know. I'm not really looking for the sugar highs. Let's see. Oh, let's welcome in Mustang 6197. Hello from a Minnesota father. And tell you what, we'll do a quick UCLA preview here. Well, not super quick. We'll be thorough, for crying out loud. But here's what we're looking at UCLA. Let me get over here and leave some of this stuff up. This is not a frightening team on paper, and I guess that's because they were just getting kind of slapped around, like the little kid on the playground, up until they beat Rutgers. Their quarterback is Ethan Garbers. You can see there he doesn't appear to be a screaming threat at quarterback. Nice completion percentage. It looks like a decent yards per attempt. Nothing special, but 8 TDs and 9 interceptions doesn't really inspire any fear. But if you think the passing game looks kind of average, here's their numbers for rushing. Their leading carrier is TJ Harden, who has 62 carries for 180 yards for a 2.9 yard per carry average. Garber's probably their best runner, but he gets sacked a lot. He's already been sacked 18 times this year, so he's getting sacked 2 to 3 times a game. But when he's running 26 carries for 155 yards and 6 yards a carry, he's their best option. And then you have Jalen Berger, who's 35 carries for 127, 2.5 and 3.6 yards per carry. The team averages 2.5 yards per carry. I didn't unaverage that or for the quarterback sacks. I didn't adjust it. So that includes, I think, about 108 yards, lost yards there. But it's not a good run game. I was looking for who we should be afraid of as far as their receiver core. and no one really, because they spread it out so much. It's 8 guys with between 12 and 20 catches, and none of them. And it's like it's a slow roll. It's not like a bunch of guys with 11 and one guy with 20. It's kind of spread out. So I don't know who to be afraid of there. Yeah, here's the story. They're 127th in the country in total offense at 302 yards per game, 17 points. Just for those of you that don't know, there's only 133 teams in FBS. Defense is a little better. It's kind of average. They're 70th there. They give up 367 yards per game and 29 points. And just for comparison, we dropped 5 spots in total offense from last week, and we're tied at 93rd, I believe, in the scoring, and on the offense, we're 358 yards per game. Total defense is at 16th. And the thing that really kind of lets you know that, they kind of had their slow starts and a few bad moments and were allowing a lot of drives. They got Ohio State off the field 3 and out. Well, one time like 4 and out, but they got them off the field without a first down like 4 times, maybe 4 or 5. They did a good job of getting quick punts from them and getting our offense back on the field. So even with those Indiana numbers figured in, let's see, we're still 16th in total defense, only giving up 301 yards and 18 yards per game or points per game. Really curious how that could have been if we played Indiana a little tighter, where we'd be sitting right now nationally and with games against Indiana, Ohio State, Indiana.
Yeah, Rule even talked about that. He's like, we could have, done stuff to slow the clock down and made it like a 35-7 game, but he wanted his young guys who are 5-star recruits that have never had anything tough in their life on the football field to go out there, experience that, and keep trying to hammer away. And so that can compound itself, and the score exponentially got worse, which is kind of what he expected. But it was really the best route to get those guys some adversity.
Right. Let's talk a little bit. Let's chat about Marcus Satterfield a little bit. I did see where today Dylan, said, and Dylan as a freshman already seems to have been well coached in how to say the right thing, that sort of thing. Because he was like, I don't blame my coach at all. He's given us good plays. It's up to us to execute them. But it's like, I don't know how many times you can execute a screen when you're using it like your go-to running play. And here's the thing I've noticed about Dylan's numbers is when they get in the red zone, and especially inside the 10, we've got like Carter Nelson, Tom Fedone, Ramir was hurt, but Ramir can catch it out of the backfield. We got a lot of guys who can run short routes in the red zone. But once we get in there, it's like we don't even think of passing it hardly. He's like, that's not 0 touchdowns and a pick, or like 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. We don't give him any of those red zone opportunities. It seems like it's almost like they're too much into this. Hey, let's be old Nebraska and run it down their throats. And it's like, hey, even Tom Osborne through tight end outs and found Eric Alford and guys like that. What do you think of that?
That's kind of what, when we hired Satterfield, they said to expect to use multiple tight ends, but not necessarily even as just a running formation, to use it as a passing formation. And so I would think we get down there in the red zone, and our normal receivers are 6'4", and then we've got Fedoni at 6'5".
Yeah.
Hell, why not throw in Carter Nelson? He's 6'6", and he can high jump 6'10", 7 feet. Why is he not standing over in the corner with some 6'1" DB on him that can't jump that high and boxing guys out? Even if he'd never played a down of football before, much less 8-man, he can do that. He can stand there and jump up high.
But put the jump.
I don't understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't have it being Tebow hopping around like a bunny. You have throw that up there and let Carter Nelson climb the ladder instead of having him try to do the dive over the line. We've brought that back, and I think there's a reason nobody really tries that anymore. Tries to do like the Walter Payton, Herschel Walker jump up, Barry Sanders jump over everybody and in. But yeah, it's like Dowdell has been a solid goal line guy. He's getting in, but we've still got better at it. But we're still having those instances where we're just determined to cram it in. I think Chattel or McCowan or one of those guys was writing about, we got it on the 7 and just went right into the gut of one of the best defensive lines in the country 3 times and had to settle for a field goal.
Trying to run straight at 4 first-round picks, and that's not gonna get the job done.
It doesn't make us awful, but here's the thing: those will open up a little bit if you do flip the occasional pass into the end zone. If they're watching film, they're probably like, just stuff that crap. Keep an eye on those guys, but just stuff it up front, and unless we see them do anything different, because they've been, I want to say, unimaginative in that way too. And I don't know if that's just some long game he wants to play of we're going to ram it home again and again.
And we were beaten by a play that we should be using over and over again by Illinois in their touchdown, where they snuck in the little tiny wide receiver in the backfield and ran him out in the flat. We should be doing that with Barney all the time too. I mean, no linebacker is going to recognize that he's back there that quick because he's so small, and then by the time he gets out there, no one's catching him.
And speaking of Barney, they just decided everyone picked up on those little like sweeps and like jet sweep reverse type things with him, where it's basically a designed running play that was working and he's averaging like 13 and a half, 14 yards a carry, and we just we've just left that in the closet for the 2 best teams we faced this season so far. I don't get that either.
Yeah, I mean, because we ran a couple with Nayor, which, I mean, you can't run it every time with Barney because obviously it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. So you've got to throw someone else in there every once in a while just as a changeup, kind of like our screen passes. But you don't want to keep doing it to those slow guys, which is kind of what we've resorted to doing that over and over again too. Like Barney used to hit that wheel route with Lloyd. Lloyd lived on that wheel route, like going around the outside of the outside receiver, up the outside of the field and outside the numbers, and we would hit him deep all the time. But now they're just running that with the bigger guys, which you got to do it, but that shouldn't be the main part of your offense. That's not their strength.
No, and what was I going to say? With Barney, I didn't feel like they were overusing that play. It seemed like they were just doing it a couple of times a game. I think maybe it was against Illinois, but they did it like 4 times, I think, one game, and he gained like 80 something yards.
But then we came back with Rutgers, and we had the kind of dummy plays where we had him lead block for number 16, the guy that was the fullback last year.
Bonner.
We had him lead block for Bonner, so that kind of another evolution of that play, which Satterfield's actually doing a good job of evolving off of that play. I think he can use stuff like that more often.
Yeah, that play that Bonner scored a TD on against Illinois, that kind of inside flip where they kind of, they made it look like everything was floating left, and then he stuck behind inside flip, with the lead block, and it was just, that was the one where I was going, way to go, Stat! That's a hell of a nice. That was
the most beautifully executed play all year.
Yeah, I really think you're right. But I did a poll. Hang on. I did a poll last week, and let's see. Let me do this one first. Yeah, I just asked, why were the Huskers blown out 56-7 by Indiana / James Madison Dukes? And I won't read them all. One was just like Indiana was just better. They had a better core than the record showed, and Signetti came in with the transfers, did a great job. I was like, they took him lightly for whatever reason. Nobody really bid on that. It's like with the pressure got to him with a 6th win, the bowl game on the line. They just tightened up. And then the all-white unis. People, I actually said there, don't vote for this. I said, don't choose this, but it still needs to stop forever. And a couple of guys went in there and voted for that. But number one, and I mean a runaway number one that I didn't really see coming, the coaching staff failed to adequately prepare the team from both scheme standpoints and in-game adjustments and reactions. And then judging by just the online chatter, it was one guy they were kind of pointing at, and that was Satterfield. And I don't think he did anything against Ohio State to help his cause. And I like the one here too, just 56-7 was awful. No sugarcoating it, but take a deep breath, knowing that outside of a last Boy Scout solution where Billy Blank starts shooting everybody, it's like, we're not beating. Yeah, I said we're not beating Ohio State. Almost did. I was very wrong there, just for being that flip about it. But what do the Huskers do now to turn the tide? I threw in the enough with Satterfield from the second half shutdowns to baffling and uninspired calls. It's time for a change now. Hey, look at Purdue. And I thought that was just one that's, nobody's going to be ready for extreme measures. Now, the voting was a lot closer. We just barely beat out, nothing drastic, refocus, get the heads back in the right place, which I think is what they did. But 34% were get rid of Satterfield now. And that was one I wasn't really expecting. And I bet if I did that poll again this week, that number is going to do like similar question with that as one of the options. I don't think that number is doing anything but going up. Is that something that should be considered? Like you've got Glenn Thomas there who's done that. Is it time to hand the reins to Glenn Thomas? Is he? I just wonder if he's thinking along those lines. Aaron, what do you think?
I don't think there's any way that Rule fires Satterfield, and honestly, with the rules today with unlimited coaches, he doesn't need to. There will either be a transfer of duties, probably after the season. I don't see him being that panicking,
right,
to do it mid-season, and so I think there'll either be that will happen at the end of the season, or Satterfield will miraculously find a slightly lesser job to take his talents to and we'll have to replace him. Well, I think that's going to be the two things that I foresee one of those two happening.
Yeah, there was someone I was chatting with on, just a couple responses on the Twitter account, the Corn Nation Twitter, and he said, well, maybe he'll work it out, and he's good. Maybe it'll turn out. We just need to be patient. He's good with developing quarterbacks, and I had to come back with, yeah, except he took those duties away from him already after last year's quarterback debacle. So and gave him tight ends and brought in Glenn Thomas to be co-coordinator and quarterback guy. So I just wonder if there's been a little chat. Yeah, he's never going to publicly embarrass a coach. I think he's playing the long game, so he's going to get every chance at least the rest of this year. I don't think you're going to see him get jerked jerked off the play calling this year. But if he kind of stays the same way in what seems to have become his comfort zone, for lack of a better way to put it, I felt like the thing going through my head in the latter part of that game was he really seems to be calling this game not to lose. Earlier in the game, I might have been thinking of as he's calling the game not to get blown out, maybe keep the clock running. But we've got a guy that has a nice touch, does a good job of keeping the ball away from his defenders. I'm going out on a limb and calling the Indiana game kind of an outlier with those 3 picks, because before that, I believe he had he had 3 picks, and 2 of them had originally been with his receiver having both hands in the hands of getting taken away, arguably. And so I was like, no, he does it. He actually did a good job on a few throws in that game, and just dropping a dime in there. That the one that they said was it Nayor juggled or whatever, was that Nayor early in the game, and they said it hit the ground and rolled, but that was just a beautiful shot to get one only he could kind of dive at and get, and the D-back had no shot. I don't think there should be this fear to let him take his shots downfield. I understand that Ohio State has some pretty good D-backs, and we weren't going to be dropping bombs to Jalen Lloyd all game over them, but
they had one that's been struggling the last couple of weeks. So I feel like, especially with our we weren't going to outspeed them. We're not going to out athlete those DBs. Those guys are legit 5 stars, but I mean, we've got big dudes out there. Let them, kind of like we did with Nayor, throw them deep up the sideline, let them go up for a jump ball. That's the one thing where we've got the biggest positive thing on our receivers. We're not faster, we're not more athletic, but we can at least jump up and grab those balls. And at least started to do a little bit of that.
Right. All right, let's pop in and see if they've started getting into it in the comments here. A lot of times I have like things I write down that, hey, I want to jump in and talk about this or that. And these guys are kind of great at like just pulling out this subject. Yes, here we go. Let's talk about this now. Let's start with Fred Sacco, and I'm sure this won't be anything to start a conversation. I'm outside drinking cedar smoked wine. Hope to be back in time to be in nuisance here. Fred, we wouldn't have it any other way. Let's see what we got here. Was it UCLA? UCLA fans think OSU didn't want to put anything on tape for Penn State. That's why it was close. Screw you, UCLA.
They're already on the basketball.
There was no way in hell they wanted that game to be close. That's ridiculous. They're coming off a loss to Oregon. They're still okay at number 4, but there's no way they don't want to cover that 25-point spread, or not caring about the spread, put a convincing beating on Nebraska. And the last thing they wanted to do was have a game where their fans threw shit on the field. Everybody's saying the refs had Nebraska win. I'm not thinking that was what they wanted at all. And then Aaron Cade, every time any fan base says that, I immediately think it's delusional. Let's see. Yeah, well, and the comedy keeps coming from James Boardman, who we've met a couple of times. He came out to our baseball softball day, and then he came out again on the Friday night down in Lincoln at whatever bar we were in the night before the Colorado game. He says that, if you go trick-or-treating at Satterfield's house, you need to open 20 screen doors to get to the main door. Boom. Good one. Let's see. Does anyone know how many sets we run? No, I think we're kind of in the world of more than you can really count half the time. They run a lot of different sets, mix things up, and that's fine. But no, I don't know their exact number. Maybe if I get on NCAA 25, I've still held off playing that. I spent more time shooting zombies because everybody's saying that some of the updates that they keep coming out with periodically are making it better. So I'm like, we'll see. Maybe
they finally made it. They made the option undoable like a month ago, and they finally this last week fixed it because that's all I run. I can't throw worth shit, so I just beat the shit out of people running option, and now I'm back to my old ways and crushing people. That I have a couple online dynasties that I'm in and
kicking the piss out of those 13-year-old kids.
Exactly.
We're never really going to get back the TikToks, which were just joyous when we were coming up on the game's release date, and everybody was putting in these different videos of different movie scenes of me getting ready to play some 13-year-old kid in Montana, and one of them was like the boys in the Friday Night Lights movie walking down the tunnel of the Astrodome. Well, that oh god, whatever that is. Was it Just Got Paid? No, it wasn't Just Got Paid.
Punching some sides of beef.
It's that theme from The Bear they use all the time. That's the music. They're coming down looking all serious and ready to kick ass. And it was like me getting ready to play a 12-year-old. And those were just wonderful. And the best one ever. And it was some dude who was a Nebraska fan, and he said, I swear to God, if Dylan transfers after 1 year, I'm coming down to EA Sports headquarters and putting hands on the CEO. He's already threatening their CEO for something that hasn't even happened yet. Here we go. Dylan finally decides to run, so look for that to disappear because it works too well. I think you'll see it. I just hope they let him do what he does, because he gets out of bounds. I don't think he took any big hits there. His stinger he took standing up, and he came right back, so that wasn't a big deal. And so he seems to have a nose for knowing how to not get hit, which some of our guys last year didn't.
It was about the perfect amount of runs. That's about what I want from mobile quarterback.
And what was funny was he sits there and he unleashes this new scramble game about 2 days after I was just joking around with somebody. Well, I will guarantee you, for the first time, except for maybe when we had who'd we had? We had one maybe Casey, except for Casey Thompson, for the first time since Frost and Adrian got here, a quarterback's not going to lead the team in rushing, except for 2022, and then Dylan almost leads the team in rushing, just scrambling a few times. I would look for him to continue that. I think he knows it gives them another option. Now they can't. You get a couple of those, they can't pin their ears back quite as much. They've got to worry about closing gaps and
stay in your lane
like that. And before, and that's true. He'd just been getting out of their way and then just hanging back, and waiting for somebody to get open. It's like, hey, we respect it, but nobody's expecting you to wander around for 7 or 8 seconds. If they can't get open by then, and you've got an alley, take it. Let's see. He says, yeah, we're kind of locked into being a physical run game type of team. And definitely that, I think that's where I was getting with the red zone and the goal line stuff. I just don't know that we're there yet. And you don't have to be the physical run game type of team with the guy like Dylan. And he's even said he doesn't, he's fine with it. He doesn't want to throw it 55, 60 times a game, but I think he's the guy you want him putting it up 35 times a game and getting your 35 or 40 rushes. That sound like about 75 plays. Yeah, I don't know. We're quite there to start running people over, but we can run a lot more of them over if we have Dylan completing some stuff like mid-range. Then, whoops, maybe we can't stack 8 or 9 up there and just one safety back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, is Sat calling or Dylan checking into all the screens? Looked to me like Sat's calling them. I didn't
notice him checking on those plays specifically.
No, it's a good question. Maybe we watch that a little closer.
Yeah.
This Saturday against the UCLA, we need to run the ball with power. Say, yeah, I say let's go for it, but I think we run it a lot more powerfully if he's hitting 65-70% of 30 to 35 passes. Yes, and here it is. Somebody else saw that too. Did you guys see that? Sat said he was unaware that Dylan could run like that. Like, what the actual fuck is he doing? Doesn't know average yards per play. Doesn't know his quarterback's capabilities. Talk about a dereliction of duty. Well, who it was?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing getting ready for press conferences, but man,
yeah,
needs to have someone coach him up.
Well, I think it was Nate. Like on Monday's Flakes, had started, hey, don't ask for transparency, and then crap all over him. And yeah, I say yes and no to that. Yes, I don't go overboard. Don't make fun. Don't make it personal and all that. But if you're going to be transparent, then then when you do stuff like that, you are opening yourself to kind of fair questions. Now, I'll be honest, on the yards per play, when I read that entire answer, it wasn't as bad as simply being, I want an offense that goes 4 to 6 yards per play. Because then he goes like, I'm not really, he's just like, that's not really a stat I use in my thinking, so I don't check our rankings there. And if you don't, that's fine. Yards per play is not as big a deal with me overall as yards per situation. Now, if he doesn't know those, then, like how many yards do we get on 3rd and 7? Because, we get a lot of 3rd and 7s running all those screens. But so I didn't think that was that bad. It still wasn't great, but it wasn't bad as just pulling that 4 to 6 number out.
I never yelled at him for that because analytics you can look at. I never said anything negative about that because, there's so many analytics and stats you can look at that. You should self-scout yourself and know, like you're saying, the situational things that you're doing. But, the whole overall yards per game, yards per attempt,
right.
No reason to know that.
Yeah, good. The more troubling is I didn't know Dylan could run. It's like,
that's the one I didn't like.
Yeah, why didn't you? Why haven't you brought up scrambling to it? Why are we in our 8th game and he's just like, hey, I feel like trying this because no one suggested, hey, you get a wide open 15 yards of field, just go take it. Okay, here we go. Philippi, Nebraska traditionally relies on a physical run game, and we can leverage that to control the clock and wear down UCLA's defense. The offensive line needs to establish control early and create gaps. I'm fine with that. But here's the thing. If they're loading up and it's early in the game, take advantage. And if we take something like a 14 to 17 point lead into the second half, don't shut the damn offense down, because that happened over and over again. Like, everybody's played. I can see kind of, taking them out quick against UTEP. I didn't like shutting it down at 28-0 against Colorado. I'm like, come on, put your foot on their throat. Kurt Signetti, people said you could hear him even telling, the backups, no, you keep trying to score. You keep going. That's how we play. We don't want to get complacent. That's to me, that's not running up the score. If you're leaving your firsters in there and throwing deep balls, well, whatever.
If your backups are in, that's not running up scores. Not a thing with backups.
Yeah, it's really not. And yeah, the first guy. Let's talk history here. Big baby Bruce Snyder at Arizona when we beat them, was it 77 maybe to 28, I think. But we were up 63-0 at halftime, and so Jake Plummer and Keith Poole stay in against the backups, and so they get some scores. But then with our third stringers, it was literally Matt Turman throws an out and up to John Vedral maybe. We had two little receivers like him, and I think it was Vedral, and Osborne wasn't calling like deep balls or anything, and he tried to apologize to Snyder afterward because he did run it out and then took off up the sideline. Well, this particular play had a little caveat built into it. It was just supposed to be like a 5-yard out, but if the guy came up to the line for lock coverage, just the quarterback and receiver knew that immediately just turned to an out and up based on that coverage. And he ran his little out and up, and Snyder freaked out and was screaming at Osborne about running up the score. It's like, dude, we scored 14 in the second half and settled out. And so then the next year they beat us in Arizona down in Tempe. And Snyder was just like, and like, you know what, shut up. And like you said, running up the score is not a thing with the backups. But yeah, I just want us to keep our foot on the pedal because I want us not to have to like turn that on and off when we need like the second half offense to turn it on. And we're just, for whatever reason, like the situation, we're trying to run out 30 minutes of clock. No good.
And also with our power running, they announced that Liebentritt's in fact gone for the year now. So
yeah,
there goes our fullback. And Ty Robinson said that he's been put in for quite a few different goal line plays. So expect to see him down there, but in the normal part of the field, that could still be a little bit of a hamper.
You like our new fullbacks?
Oh yeah,
Ty Robinson and Judy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Judy took on one of like Ohio State's, like it might have been the third down they made, or maybe it was a fourth down. No, because they were 0 for 1 on fourth down. I think it was the 1 3rd down they made when they were short, and then they just ran it over us for 3 yards. Judy got pancaked like nobody's business. I mean, like they were showing it in, and just from the very snap, it was just him going backwards. I was like, God, I don't know who that guard is, but he just overpowered, like a 310-pound dude pretty easily. I'll actually answer this because it came up at Big Ten Media Days when Rule was doing his podium interview, and he's like, "Why did Rule fire Evan Cooper?" Laugh out loud. He had to. He won't fire Scat for brains. He wouldn't say why he fired Cooper, and he actually had a pretty good answer. And I think it's what coaches should do because supposedly he left the team. And nothing really. They did a good job of keeping a lid on whatever it was. Maybe he did just need time away. I don't see that he hired on with anybody else, and there was plenty of time. So I don't know if he needed it, whatever. But Rule's answer was, "Here's the deal: players leave, coaches leave. When that happens, for whatever reason, he goes, it's not my place to tell you why. That's their story. You can ask them if they want to tell you. That's up to them." He goes, but that's not for me to say. And I feel like that's better just going, I can't discuss it. He's going, I won't discuss it. And here's a pretty good reason why. If it's a firing, you're still not going to get that out of the guy. It's like, hey, he's being fired. If he's being fired, then that's going to be pretty public too. And he's just going to go, we decided to part ways. And same thing. Ask him, the reason we gave. But so no idea. No, don't know why Cooper was quietly fired or left or whatever. For our running backs, aiming for consistent gains on first and second downs. Yeah, it seems basic. If we go 2-2, the last 4 is Sack calling the plays at the bowl game. If we go 2-2, he probably is. I think if we go 0-4, he's probably still calling him at the bowl game, unless it's so disastrous at that point and so obviously on him that there's.
That'd be a good time to at least see if
Thomas,
there's going to be a transition, if Thomas can do it, which,
right.
I mean, he's got a coordinator title already, so he better be able to step in.
Yeah. Well, and Vince Watson says, hey, if he is at the bowl game, he will be back next year. Well, it's funny how that seems to be more of like a head coach thing than assistants. maybe. I mean, I could see that going either way, but I just don't think with year 2 of what's, when he got here, as we were playing the long game, we're going to build it right. He's not going to be really forced. I don't think he's going to fire too many people. Well, unless they're doing so bad he has to, which is kind of back to, I don't know if we're there, but I can see that road sign in the distance. We're coming up on it potentially. These next 4 games are very important for Marcus Satterfield. I'll say that's my opinion on that. Let's see. 160,000. Oh, yeah, here we go. 160,000 per month for Sat. And we have the number 93 ranked offense in college football. And hey, that's a year after we had about the number 129th or 30th ranked offense in college football. So they're moving up.
They're getting better, yeah.
Yeah, John and I got in a little argument over that. He's like, there's no damn difference. And I'm like, in the offense this year. And I'm like, and this was when we were 88th. And I'm like, John, we've moved up like 40-something spots. And there's a big difference behind center. Yeah. Oh. And it's like, if you can't see that, let's see. Quarterback run options, incorporating design QB runs and RPOs will keep UCLA's backers and safeties on their toes, forcing
That's
them.
The other thing, especially.
Yeah, go ahead.
Especially on the goal line. Why are we not seeing any of Harburg on the goal line stuff?
Yeah, whether it's
gives you a better numbers option
as a split tight end or like a wildcat quarterback, either way, or bring him back there and let him pass one, because UCLA and most teams would see him back in the gun and start screaming run, and then give him a little out. Let's see how Glenn Thomas is what kind of an effect he's had on him, because what I saw the spring game, and I think he's like 8 for 8 this year or something, throwing the short passes when he's got in. I don't know. It's still the motion I'd want for my quarterback, but it's improved over last year. So yeah, I agree with you.
And we might even actually run a sneak with him, because we're giving Raiola the Mahomes treatment. It looks like he's not allowed to sneak.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, mixing in the design QB runs and RPOs also stretch the defense horizontally and open up running lanes. I cannot argue. Tiger Shark number 102 rushing offense right now. That's higher than I thought it would be, because when you're going 2.6 per carry, the only one I could really pluck out of a team I've watched this year that'd be worse would be Colorado's, which is, I don't know if they even average 2 yards a carry. God, and because what are they, 5-2 or 5-3 now? Maybe they're still 5-2, because all of a sudden I saw, oh God,
they don't have 3 losses, I don't think.
Okay, because their little cheerleader, what's his name? Is it Dan Wetzel? Was already writing a huge article about they've got their path to the playoff, and I'm like, just for the pure ass kicking, I would love to see the Big 12 so bad that somehow Colorado got into that. That could be entertaining, but yeah, I just don't. I'm happy for the hype kind of have died down a little, but holy crap, yeah,
that's really all.
That's just be freaking annoying if they got in that conversation again. I'm not going to put there's a comment up here, and I'm not going to put it up because it's basically making fun of somebody running in a race, and they're just like, God, can I just watch a video without seeing X person? I just bring it up because I am so ready for the election to be over, so I don't have to just watch 6 political ads at every time out. It's getting
I voted 2 weeks ago. I should be able to punch in the code and have all the political ads just disappear.
You should have some code in your phone that makes any TV near you change to like a just normal cereal ad, or John Daly selling motor oil or some shit.
But if you live by me, I'll be working the polls over here, so come say hi.
All right. If I was voting out there, I would. I've just got my little church about 2 minutes away. I love it. Let's see. That was that one. Yeah, Justin, I think that talking about UCLA 69 rush yards per game. And the thing that gets me was looking at how average the passing attack is. This is it was a windy day. Because I was going, how do you not score so many points? I will defend that win, because having been there, I took some video of the goalposts moving back and forth. And then when they released the balloons, I got some real nice footage of all these different balloon vortexes. And yeah, I don't think anybody was going to score too much that day that because everybody knew you were running. And that's when it really went bad for Rutgers, is when we put in that extra lineman and extra linebacker, and Shiana just waved the white flag and quit using Monangai for like the entire second quarter. So yeah, but then I see UCLA. How the hell did you score 35 on them? It's like, did we break Rutgers? Because it's been brutal what's happened to them since they played us.
Yep.
Let's see. Every time we try to control the clock, we fail to score. Blutarski, I think that's his way of me talking about just shutting down our offense in the second quarter or second half. I'm sure they don't think of it as, hey, it's an offensive shutdown. But Rule has said, well, in the second half, we want to start grinding it out on them. Yeah, grinding it out to a bunch of 3-and-outs wasn't helping. It wasn't helping the development. Let's put it that way.
Well, I hear lots of thundering upstairs. So whatever movie they were watching must be over. So I got to bail and go put people to bed.
Are you hearing them thundering upstairs, or is the roof getting blown off your house with that wind today and tonight?
Oh my God, it could be both. Yeah, I'm right by a giant window right here, and it's deafening. All right. Ornaments are getting blown all over the place out there.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming in. I'll always love hearing your comments. I'm probably going to ask you to join me again sometime.
That sounds good to me. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you, buddy. Take care. All right, so you're stuck with me now. Let's see. I want to get through the comments, and then we're about close to an hour in, and we can finish the rest of this show off by shitting on the Big Ten refs. See what else we got. Okay, I'm not going to put that up there. I saw, because I just don't want to have to explain it if anybody freaks out. I saw a tweet earlier that said, since we can't say, well, I guess it's called the R word now, doctors now have to tell parents that their kid is a B1G ref instead. Okay. Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's see what else we got. Assume you're talking about the Indiana coach that beat us. God, he's a douche, but God, he's doing great. The Sig 10. Do they play Ohio State this year? I don't want to look it up right now, but if somebody knows, throw that down below. He could have bootlegged and walked in on the goal line. So obviously every single player on defense crashed inside. Yeah, because they know we are in this mood to prove ourselves, for lack of a better term. Go down a little. Tiger Shark goes pre-snap. You could tell they were all crashing inside. And I think once we got Dowdell in just by hopping him out to the right a little, and then he pretty much slid right home. Yeah, no game is easy. We better not overlook UCLA and get flat again. They will kick your asses if so. I don't know if they will kick your asses because the defense would really just have to fall completely asleep to have a big number hung up. But I could see us getting, in the same play calling boat and being unable to score and finding ourselves in a tight game in the second half, and weird things happen. And you want to talk about going from alarm bells after Indiana to, hey, this might be okay after Ohio State. Yeah, I don't like moral victories, but at least we didn't get our asses blown out of Columbus. But now if we lose to UCLA, who I think with the Rutgers win, they nudged ahead of Purdue for worst team in the conference. But if we lose to UCLA, man, all of a sudden 5-4, 3 games to go. Wisconsin, Southern Cal, Iowa. Let's not go there. Let's get that 6th win this Saturday. That's the reason for the little nickname that I like to screw around there in the quotes. But 6, that's the only number I care about right now. Get 6, and then we get 6, then we can talk about all our dreams of what happens after that. Just go back to a bowl game and do it now, because next year's schedule is tougher. This year's schedule's tougher than last year's. Next year's schedule is going to be tougher than this year's. So there. Let's get 6, because I can say this on the Huskers happy hour. I made a vow to myself tonight: no more shots until we are bowl eligible. Now that's putting it on the line, because I could be looking at things could go wrong, and I could be done with shots for a couple of years. My liver would thank me, but life's better with shots. I didn't call this the Husker workout hour or the 12 steps of happy Huskers. This is Huskers happy hour, and that means we all like our pollutants. Tiger Shark Diver says, I know why he fired Evan Cooper. University policy for an affair on university property. What the hell is it with our defensive back coaches? I mean, isn't that kind of why Marvin Sanders had to go? Geez, I guess they're just sexy beasts. What can you do? If Satterfield gets into an appropriate relationship with a department staff member, he'll be fired too. I feel like Shay's about to see how much a hooker costs for that seduction. Justin wants to know if Shay's volunteering himself. They're not bowl eligible now. The only way they're bowl eligible now is if I think the classes are going well, and we can be get one of those 5 and 7 bids. Seeing these last couple of games is made me pretty happy. I sleep during the day and don't have to watch the screen of Palooza. Nice. Let's see. Could Rule have challenged the spot of the ball on that bad 2nd and 2 spot that should have been a first down? I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure if I would think so. My thing there was why oh my God, why did the refs not go review it? That's one that's well within their purview to review. And I think that, that's the one that God, thanks Big Ten. That's the one they, admitted they got wrong. But yeah, they got it wrong. And how does no other ref have any idea that that's not where the ball should be spotted? And they go to review it and make it right. That's just another example of why this shit feels intentional. Okay, Justin Rogie says, no, there is no challenging in the last 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah, what a stupid rule. The one time you really need that challenge? Oh, no, you can't have it. There's so many of these rules now about challenging that seem more about protecting refs' feelings than getting the call right. Now, I don't want them reviewing, 75% of the plays, but God, that was obvious. I don't know. Well, we're close to the refs. We're close to talking about the refs here. I'm telling you, if you look at UCLA's schedule and how they played decently close and they beat Minnesota and Whiskey, they might whoop our ass. They beat Minnesota and Wisconsin. UCLA did. I didn't think that happened. I thought Rutgers was their first league win, I believe. Okay, yeah. That's all right. Yeah. Craig Gifford says yes. Indiana plays Ohio State that year. That'll be interesting. I would love to see them run a counter trade with Gotula and Evans. Latowski and Benhart might be too slow for them to pull. Yeah. The counter, use everything in the arsenal. There just seems to be too much of this wanting to, and I get it. It's what, makes Husker Nation a wreck, but holy crap, we weren't just constantly ramming it at teams all the time. Our run plays had some real pizzazz to them in those last few Osborne years. They weren't. It was a lot of like blocking assignment fun, counters, trays, whatever. Like the across the field screen pass to Phillips in the Fiesta Bowl. They were doing a lot of fun stuff. And of course they would do it some of the time, but they weren't doing it all the time. And we don't need to do it all the time. Like, line them out there and make them think, what are they going to do? And then ram it at them after we've busted a couple of counters for like 9-10 yards. I don't know. I'm not advertising for the offensive coordinator job, and I couldn't do it. I'm just good at criticism, damn it. Let's see what we got here. We're not going to lose to UCLA. My point is that we're physically able to beat UCLA's players one-on-one. It sounds like it. And a guy I kind of feel bad for there, not really because he played for Colorado, Eric Bieniemy is their offensive coordinator right now. I just don't think he's got shit to work with. don't believe it's really Eric's fault. I don't know. Let's see. All I need to know is we had 2 years with no holding penalties against us. That's documented, but we can't rely on the refs. Somebody actually broke it out there, and they were getting their years kind of wrong. As they said, well, ever since we joined the Big Ten, there's only like, then he goes, in the first 8 or 9 years. So yeah, this wasn't a new thing, this reffing, but in the first 8 or 9 years, there were only 3 holding calls on pass plays in road games against Big Ten teams. I don't think the road makes it worse. They're perfectly fine with doing their weirdness in Lincoln. Let's see. At this point, I don't give a fuck about official acknowledgments. Fixio Shiz B1G says Aaron Kane. Fred Sacker goes, Aaron, I saw a couple of your comments. Geez, maybe you need me as a counterbalance. Yeah, it's crazy. That holding stuff. Yeah. They beat Minnesota and Rutgers NCAA football schedule. So UCLA did beat Minnesota. Okay, I stand corrected. And Fred Sacco has our first Jerry Sandusky call out of the night. Yeah, Penn State, you bunch of weirdos. The best job in the world. This is a great point. The best job in the world is a fired football coach, because unless you've done something really horrible, you get some money on the way out the door, and usually it's the kind of money that you don't really ever need to work again if you want to take that early retirement. Let's see. Oh, Tony, yeah, I saw that this week. Tony White played with Deshaun Foster at UCLA, which is interesting. Or was it high school? But I thought, didn't Tony White go to UCLA? I'm sure that'll start some theories if UCLA breaks a couple of plays early. Okay, here we go. UCLA beat Minnesota 21-17. Thank you much. Tony Washington agrees. I just let that slip my mind completely. All right. Well, yeah, don't take them lightly. All right. Let's open up a little ref talk here. I feel like this is the perfect picture to start with when they did not call defensive pass interference on this one. It's like, that's not just a hand on his shoulder. You can see the jersey being yanked. And Gus Johnson, oh my God, some of the announcing was getting on my nerves by the end of that game. Gus Johnson was like, "Oh, no way, that's interference. That's just good coverage." No, Gus, that was blatant as hell interference. But one thing, I brought it up earlier. Here's the thing with the refs. For some reason, the world was watching this game. Now, USC had already been up the Big Ten's ass about their reffing, because they got Big Ten again. It's probably, I don't remember calls from Minnesota. I remember one Minnesota guy got a call because he pulled up his jersey, like he was pulling up the shirt to show somebody their gun, and some old white referee lost his mind and called a penalty on that for yanking up the jersey. But Michigan, there were some questionable calls against USC or ignored against Penn State and Michigan in those games. And there have been some tweets by the USC fans like, what the hell is with these refs in this conference? And Nebraska people popping in, hi, welcome to our world. Sincerely, Nebraska. But you had things like this. Well, here's one thing that happened in the game. There's a Big Ten refs fake account. And after oh God, we would like to apologize. After Nebraska got the long field goal, I think screwed up the mark there that got them in, and I guess thought that there'd safely be no points on the board. So did this fake ass apology for not making it worse. That was pretty good. And then former ESPN David Pollock goes, is this the worst spot in the history of football? At Husker football got the first down by at least a yard. I say 2. What the heck is going on? I didn't find a picture of that one, but I remember from the play ending, I'm like, not get the first down. I said, there's literally only 3 Huskers behind the first down line at the end of the play. I think Badone came blocking somebody back down the field, and then 2 of them were on the ground. And yeah, it was crooked. So here's the thing. Aaron left before he reminded me, but I remembered. Here is my favorite. Here's what these fuckers do, and it's again and again and again. The Rutgers game, that they had that punt where they pinned us back on the 3 and we had to get out of there so Bashini could bomb one. And I don't know why I'm watching the ref. They're going into TV timeout, and he's down there standing on the 3, waving his arms, pointing at the 3. And then here comes the guy trotting over with the ball, and the guy takes a step to his right, goes and stands on the 2 and tells the guy, "Hey, put it here." And the guy you see the guy shake his head and put it on the 3, and you see them kind of argue a little, and then the other guy's like, "No, this is where it's going." So literally, like, one ref was just saying, "Hey, well, nobody's watching. Let's move them a yard closer to the end zone, with their backs to the wall." And the other guy just refused to do it. And that's the same game where they call a targeting early on. The replay shows clear head-to-head targeting, and I guess they figured it wouldn't work to overturn it, on review, or to allow it on review, or to overturn it on review. So they just, "Hey, you picked up your flag." So they did one of those things there and was talking about, no flag on the play for targeting. And it's like, yeah, we just conducted our own review. Go screw yourselves. And then they went ahead and overturned a couple of blatant targetings later in that game. But it's getting to the point now where you're putting guys in danger with that, because 3 uncalled targetings, well, no wonder they did it twice more. Yeah, it's like, fuck it, they're not going to call it. So anyway, yeah, it's ridiculous. There's been so many calls over the years, even the ones I forgot, and this isn't a Greg Burke's crew situation. The guy that in Nebraska, the crew that in Nebraska's final year worked 3 games, was at Texas, Iowa State, Texas A&M, and called well over 100 yards in penalties on Nebraska in all of those games. And guys were getting hurt too. Like Rex Burkhead is diving one in against Iowa State. Somebody's got his head, like literally Eric Crouch, twisted around. It's on top of the pile. You can clearly see it. Refs are standing right there, won't flag it. It's like, okay, you can have the touchdown, but no, that's perfectly legal. And then the Texas A&M game where dude's just basically committing sexual assault on Ben Cotton, hand up the and they give Ben Cotton 30 yards of penalties. He is kicking like crazy to get the guy off him. And then and then later after the game, they try to say, well, we didn't have a look. And somebody quickly found a picture of a referee standing outside of it, clear view and head down, focusing on it. And then Cotton rips his helmet off and is yelling like, "What, are you kidding me?" And boom, there's 15 more. So for, getting a fully conscious colonostomy from a defensive player, gets 30 yards in penalties. We can go, I'm sure we can go down the line, but this isn't that situation where the one crew is doing it. It's every crew. It's not just us. And it's been going on for years. Oh, by the way, Greg Burks now, when you do your job well, you get rewarded. He is now the chief of Big Ten officials for the Big 12. So might want to keep that in mind if anybody's still got that mindset. We should go back to the Big 12. It's like, it's probably what's there from waiting for us there is probably even worse than this. But anyway, have at it. Let's see what kind of comments we got on refs and start aiming this thing home, but no rush. Let's see. All right. Jimbo Fisher got $90 million as a buyout and sounds so happy on college football radio since Sirius 84. Oh God. Yeah. $90 million. I couldn't spend $90 million. There was that movie long ago, Brewster's Million, with Richard Pryor and John Candy, where he just had to go. I can't remember how much, if it was $1 million or how much, but he had, was it a month, a week to spend all this money, and here are all the things you can't do is just like give it all away, or it was kind of regulated how you could spend the money. I couldn't do it. I don't know, but Jimbo, I guess you're golfing wherever you want. More likely to happen first, running back 100, Dillon for 3. I'm going to go Dillon for 3 on that one. Just because we're still kind of committeeing the running backs. I don't remember hearing Ramirez going to be out for extended duty. It looks like Gabe Irvin's basically kind of done. It's sad because he probably just didn't come back from the knee stuff. But I'm confident in Emmett and Dante Dowdell. Let's see. Head coaches, CEOs, politicians, the only jobs you can be terrible at and fail upward. Yeah, what was the famous book, 70s or 80s, The Peter Principle, when the principle was that because you keep getting promoted till you're shitty at your job, the principle is, you will get promoted to your best level of incompetence. It was an interesting theory and not that inaccurate. Let's see. Say what you will about Will Compton and bussing with the boys, but they are definitely bringing Husker football to mainstream. I agree that him and Luan they're a pair together. But quick story. The funniest thing I ever saw was Taylor Luan when he came to Lincoln for the first time a couple of years ago. He's tweeting out about and I couldn't wait to go there because Will had been promised me he's going to take me to this just lovely Lincoln diner and you're going to get the best in Nebraska. And then there's a space and then it just says the motherfucker took me to Village Inn and laughed his ass off. It's like, we got those in Arizona. Yeah, it seems like they have fun screwing with each other. What Pelini's interview on there a couple years ago is still one of my favorites, where he really opened up about some stuff, and hopefully one of these days we can happily bring Bo back. Just as a hey, come on, let's welcome Bo back. Let's not start fighting about Bo though. This is about crapping on refs. Fred Sacco, Gus Johnson and his Rep Butler stash can go fuck themselves because I don't give a damn. Well said. Hey, yeah, he was just. I like the excitement from Gus, but holy shit, there's times where I wonder if he's watching the games. Taylor Lewan and Will Compton damn near got us to have the Big Ten response. Let's see. Even that Portnoy dude tweeted how bad the refs were, lots of exposure. And if there's a more irritating Michigan fan than Dave Portnoy, I don't know who it is. So that carries some weight there that he hates Ohio State. I get it, but it's not like I don't think he's that big of a fan of ours. Yeah, glad he mentioned it too. Oh, let's just leave it at that. I think I went in the wrong direction before I steered it back that, he hates Ohio State. Yeah, it's nice to have a guy like Will sticking up for us. And I'm telling you, the little pregame thing they've thrown in of his little pregame like fire up speech for the crowd and gets the Go Big Reds going. I'm into it. Kicking it off, or at least the first time I noticed it. I didn't know if they did it against UTEP, but doing it against Colorado really had them revved up. And there was Taylor standing in the background just with like this big smile on his face. And afterwards they interviewed him. And he goes, this is fun, man. Looking at him get that revved up and that happy. He goes, I like seeing him like this. Let's see. How bad are the B1G refs and our technology if they can fuck up that spot and screw us? Abhorrent. Yeah. That goes back. Why do you have a rule that you can't challenge that in the last 2 minutes of the half? Is that when you want to rush along? That's stupid. Maybe not allow it. I don't know. I'm not going to get into just get rid of it. It's stupid. Perfect. Another perfect example, especially coming like 2 weeks after, or was it, did he get it against Indiana or was it, no, yeah, I think it was Indiana, where he threw his headset, boom, you get a sideline penalty. And came off the field to do it. Ryan Day does the exact same thing. Penalty, none whatsoever. What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? Come on. Let's see. We just need you out there to yell at the refs. I remember it working great during one of my high school hockey games to get me to serve your pitch penalty. Oh, really? Oh, God. Who is this? Because I took 2 bench minors when I was helping coach high school hockey. Both of them were very much intentional. I did one because we had a player that would get roughing penalties and take swings and take a few cuts at people whenever he felt he was wrong. And I'm like, we can't have you in the box every time you get irritated. And sure enough, we have a game and a kid by our bench. They have a little standoff, by our bench. Ref's right there. Kid punches him. Like glove on. I don't want a fighting penalty, but glove on, punches him in the cage. And this kid turns around and looks at me like, what the hell? And I'm like, you know what? He needs to know I have his back. And so I just laid into the ref until he bench minored me. And then I stopped. I was like, okay, I'm good. because I just wanted him to know you did the right thing. And a bench miter might have been a stupid way to show up, but it was the best way I could think of at the time. And another time, a ref just made a big deal of warning me by the crowd, playing by the crowd. And the game was basically over. And so I got irritated. So he starts yelling at me from all the way across the ice next to the crowd. So I started yelling back, and he comes over, and I jawed at him for a good long time. And then he finally says, "Hey, you got a minor." So I jawed at him some more, and he goes, and I'm acting like I'm super mad. And he goes, "And one more word out of your mouth, and you're going to be thrown out." And I went, "Oh, well, then I'm done." And then walked away, and everybody on the bench started laughing. And he wanted to throw me out so bad, but all I did was went, "Oh, okay," and I stopped. But he got so mad at the bench laughing. So, yeah, that's fun. I didn't know I'd left my mark. Let's see. Yeah, refs. This Tiger Shark. Thank you. This is what I was going to say. It's what I've been saying now for a few weeks. I think Nate McHugh, one of our writers, had said it too. This has to be national. Refs need to be full-time trained employees. They're ruining college football. Every game there is a subjective targeting call in critical moments. Yeah, next step, they need to be national employees. They need to not be working for a conference that, especially in this day and age, has a lot of fucking money on the line, depending on whether your teams go to the playoff. Whether it was even when it was the BCS, not great, but you kind of knew who the top two teams were. But once it got to 4, you just started seeing, especially later in the season, certain teams. 22 Michigan, Illinois comes to mind. Illinois is beating them, and the refs just flag them, Michigan, up and down the field until they win that game, and they went to the play, because they went to the playoff 3 straight years, and they go back to the playoff, and if they lose that game, they're probably not going to the playoff. So making those calls was a big money decision, and I would say it ramped up against Ohio State, because they really want Oregon and Ohio State to play again in the conference championship, I'm guessing. And they don't want Ohio State getting a second loss and possibly getting on the dividing line there for the college football playoffs. So yes, that refereeing needs to change. It's goofy it's getting goofy in the SEC. It's getting goofy in the Big Ten, especially with how competitive those two teams are with each other to put the most teams in the playoff. So yeah, they shouldn't be. Yeah, you shouldn't be under the purview. Your referees shouldn't be under the purview of the leaders of your conference, when they're definitely going to have fiscal thoughts about how that should break down. Carricker thinks that refs need a post-game presser so they can feel the heat. It's a big boy game. Now, that's why I say pay them appropriately, nationalize it, make them the full-time employees at least during the season, and then then they're in it for some better money too. And with the better money, with great powers comes great responsibility, and start explaining yourself, and not just quietly to a league commissioner who then has a secretary put out the apology. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah. Tiger Shark Diver, Texas A&M checked Ben Cotton's oil. No kidding. With 2 dipsticks, I think. Sorry about that. Yep, picking cotton balls. Here we go. 1 month to spend $30 million on Brewster's Millions. Thank you, JC. Let's see. Frost would have spent a tease. I don't know. Frost would have enjoyed the cotton special from ATM after a bad loss the last 5 years. Let's see. Andy, did you see when Mazkua came in at left tackle and we scored a rushing first down, graded 72? I didn't see the grade, but I saw he was out there a lot, and I'm happy. Apparently, he must have, how do you put this, done whatever they required from him to show that his head's back in the game. I guess that'd be a good way to put it, and I'm glad he did. He is a talent, and we are a better team when he's out there functioning on all cylinders. When UCLA starts stacking the box, we need to mix in more passing on first and second downs. Yes, absolutely. And like I said, I'm not talking air raid or any of that. Just if we throw it 30 to 35 times a game, I do it successfully, and not 26 completions for 102 yards, then it opens up the running game. I know that not exactly like, wisdom from, from above there, but sometimes I just need to say it over and over again to make myself feel better. Skinny posts and play action slot crosses come to mind. Yeah. What do we got Fedone and Nelson and all those guys for, right? Yeah, the spot was damn near conspiracy theory bad. Oh, judging from the reaction, and not just from Nebraska this time, that wasn't damn near conspiracy theory. You've got people out there full on calling the Big Ten on it. Like, okay, this isn't looking like mistakes anymore. This is looking intentional. Yeah, challenge in the last 2 minutes would screw up the timing of the 15 minutes of commercials. And I could give a flying damn. I know I've barked about this before, but yeah, when they said, "Hey, we're shortening, we're making these changes, keep the clock running and shorten the game," yeah, but the broadcast stay the same time. You've just replaced gameplay with commercials, so screw you. My dad was talking about Middle Earth and Antarctica and flat Earth after that first down call. Oh God. Drew, I did not know that was your nickname. And so what? Mustang 6197, dude. Mustang was my college nickname in my fraternity, and I absolutely supported it 100% because a lot of guys got saddled with nicknames you didn't want said in front of your family, women, that sort of thing. All right. Well, now I know. I wouldn't have thought you was Mustang 6197. I was wondering if you were somebody that played for Millard North, or but then ended up with us. So wonderful. Yes, my son was a defenseman on the high school hockey team, and the reason I was an assistant coach. All right. Let's see what do we got here? After Ohio State, I'm excited for the UCLA game. How about you? I'd love to say I'm excited, and I am, but I'm also terrified. Is it because I don't think we'll beat them? No, I think we do, but it's just, it's just the PTSD in full effect where I've just got that part of my brain that goes, be worried, be very, very worried. I don't think I'm worried, but it's one of those things where something goofy happens and bad call. Somebody does something weird to give UCLA an easy touchdown, or like a ball somebody fumbles, nobody near them, and they run it in, that kind of shit. Then all those pistons start firing. And here we go. Let's see. Yep, Tiger Shark. I think we can win out. Let's see. You know what? I hate that talk, and here's why. Let's just take care. UCLA, get the 6th win, and then we can Walt Disney music behind all our dreams. Let's see. Yeah, we will win if we play with the mindset like we did against Ohio State. And I think that's going to work out to our benefit, because you don't go looking ahead when you haven't been to a bowl in 8 years. I don't think you look ahead. And they come out of that game having played well and losing, I think, still hungry and wanting to show it wasn't a fluke. Absolutely can. It's $1 billion business. We need national refs. Thanks, man. I mean, it would seem, just after seeing so many goofy things happen, now it's coming to light because it's not just us complaining. I mean, I don't know why we're the focus of it all the time, but Ohio State, thank you. And also, not thank you, like we said, for trying to be Texas and throwing shit all over the field to try and get that targeting overturned. Refs and FBS Power 4 only make 35 to 50 max. Yeah, because an NFL refs make like 100 to 250. NCAA needs to pay up and pay. And here's the thing: they're both in the same boat. They're contract employees, which means that's you're self-employed. You're just working on a contract for them. They're not withholding your taxes or anything like that. So they're just paying you for basically 2 days of work, even though you're expected to stay caught up on everything and studied up. And I'm sure you get your time included for that. But I don't want this guy, like, look, well, let's not take him because he's a terrible ref. Let's say Ed Hockley. I don't want Ed Hockley working whatever stressful job he has all week, and then taking Saturday, or probably traveling Saturday, and then reffing Sunday, a high stress job, and then back to work on Monday. Maybe they let you have Tuesday if you've got an understanding boss, or run your own business or something. But no, I want these guys focused on reffing. Spend that week watching film, going over old calls. What did we do right? What do we do wrong? But for some reason, in the billion-dollar college business and the way, way, way billion-dollar more NFL business, you've got part-time contract employees doing a job that decides who wins or loses many times. Shouldn't be that difficult a step. I don't know, with the money flying around out there. I think it was Trev did it when he got to Texas A&M. Everybody fire all your good buddy employees who just basically get an office and money because they're a friend of a regent or a high dollar donor or something like that. Get rid of all those do nothings. They're cluttering up athletic departments. There you go. You freed up the money to pay refs more. I don't know. I'm not sure how much that actually brings into the equation. It's just the first thing that came to mind. But guys, you can afford it. Yeah, if players are gambling on games, who's to say the refs aren't? Well, Tim Donahue wouldn't. It will be interesting to see how the refs will screw over Indiana against Ohio State, right? I'm guessing that it's a nice story. They're probably hoping that Indiana can just maybe lose that game and no others, and then all of a sudden you'll see them getting the treatment, because that's definitely a team on their short list now that they want in the playoff, because they're talking about wanting as many as 4. I think both them and the SEC will get 3, but we'll see how it plays out. The women's volleyball team is playing Minnesota for the $5 bits of broken chair trophy because the football teams didn't play this year. Your thoughts? Tony, what was that? Tony Lashin? Thank you. You know what? I'm fine with it. It's fine. It's not one of those things I'm going to dive too deep into it. I'm sure it was one. I'm sure that John Cook players, talked to Matt Rule in football, like, how do you guys feel about it? And I'm guessing that if they didn't like it at all, that was where it would have ended. So if the football players are okay with it and the gals are having fun, I'm okay. What are my thoughts on Wisconsin and Iowa? Oh boy. Wisconsin was on a little tear. I can't remember what they did this Saturday, but they were starting to beat the tar out of people. I'm not, at this point, I wouldn't be fully confident in that game. All right, let's put it this way. Wouldn't have been confident at all after Indiana, after Ohio State. If we can turn that into an every Saturday kind of thing, I feel good about them both. There's so much of this where I go, I try to ask questions instead of laying down absolutes with my thoughts. I just shook the table. Because say after Northern Iowa, I said I think we've got a problem here. I won't know till a little time goes by, but just because they were getting the long drives on us, and I was like, that's a problem. I just said it is. It's not that good a team, and then they went out and got wrecked by Hawaii, who's not that great, the next week, I think. And right now their offense is before Ohio State, their offense was 104th in the country in 1AA or FCS. Yeah, if we play I got a weenie out because I got to see that we can play like we did against Ohio State a second week. If we're Indiana or somewhere in between, I think we just go somewhere between Indiana and Ohio State. I like Wisconsin's chances, but I still think we beat Iowa. There's something kind of off about them. They're scoring more points, but their offense is still like 102nd in the country. So, hey, they've improved from like the worst at 133rd. So I don't know if just the defense is getting points. I think we can do more damage on them offensively this year just because we were in that 13-10 role last year. So if Ohio State, Nebraska shows up, 2-0 in those games. 1-1 if we get a middling team, and 0-2 if we play like Indiana. There. I don't know if I can defend that. I don't know if I can choose that in any more ways, and mathematically, I don't think I can. So there you have it. No answer. If we lose to Iowa, I will never hear the end of it. We got a couple Iowa folks in the old saloon, but they realize that they're being welcomed in Nebraska territory, so they don't make a big stink about it. Andy is worried that he isn't worried as much as he worries that he should be worried. Thank you, Aaron. See, Aaron gets me. That couldn't have put it better myself, even though it was myself. Were you at Tiger? Yes, I was in Tiger Tom's for the Ohio State game. I'm easy to find. I'm sitting on the left side of the bar facing the main screen TV, the big screen TV, the main one. And I've got my iPad, my flipped up iPad, and it looks like a laptop. And I'm muttering under my breath and typing away a lot. I'm not going to put Tiger Shark Divers final season record up there because we're winning 6 games before we talk about that. Let's see. We got Doomsday Diesel in here talking some Big 12 football. So let's give them the floor as former members of the Big 12. KU should have beat K-State. KSU fumbled. KU recovered. Refs called it a non-fumble. They fumbled identically to Ohio, like Ohio State did to us. K-State is a Big 12 champion contender. See a trend here? Yeah. KU fans didn't litter the field with trash, though, which is a shock because there's some terrible fans. I only have one experience at Lawrence. I've only been to one Husker game in Lawrence. It was when Jamal Lord was quarterback. And weirdly, we caught a lot of, like, our little group, we were kind of wandering, just wandering around looking for a place to grab a drink at night after the game. And we just had some of these KU kids like flipping a shit on the street, like not quite starting fights, but just making fun, yelling down at us from parties. And then came to find out the next day that somebody had gone to 2 different hotels and slashed a bunch of tires on Nebraska plates. So yeah, that's just my only experience. I guess that's why I try to always be pretty decent to visiting fans. Is it just takes one guy to turn it? Well, they're terrible, And my thing is maybe they're not, but my experience wasn't good, so I won't throw the blanket over the whole place, and I'll leave it at that. I don't know. Are they doing the fundraiser with the Bits of Broken Share? That might, yeah. If they're doing that, so much the better. Wisconsin played Penn State pretty tough. That's right. Now I remember seeing that. So yeah, Wisconsin we can beat, but they're the ones I'm more afraid of right now. It'll take Ohio State, Nebraska to do that. Doomsday basketball is starting to. For KU fans, they've pretty much checked out of football. I suspect that doesn't take much. The one game I was at, I think there were more Nebraska fans at that game than Kansas, and I understand, especially in those days, that was not abnormal. And that brings us to the bottom. Perfect. Just past an hour and a half. I didn't want to roll past 2 hours again, but that's about it. We covered what I wanted to cover, what I hadn't gotten to. People jumped in with in the comments, and a good night. I feel a little better. I can't tell you how happy I was just to see how the complaints about the reffing went national, because I started writing about it. I was like, I'm not going to hold back anymore. I think it was after Illinois. There were because that was another one with a lot of surgical shitty calls / non-calls, and then you throw on that was the game where Bert was having his guys flop fake injuries for timeouts throughout. He must have done it 5 or 6 times. I remember Matt. I know this was intentional in my heart. I think it was like mid 4th quarter. We suddenly had a lineman go down, roll around a little on the field. They call timeout. People start running out, and then the guy just jumped up and ran off the field like a few of the Illinois players did. And what did Bert do 2 plays later? He did it again, I think, just to kind of go screw you to Rule. But I appreciated Rule for doing that. But yeah, that's when I started saying, you know what? I am just going to call it. It's intentional. I truly believe it is. I know I've been complaining about it for years, and people were getting, a couple people getting sick of it. And I was like, all right, I'll tone it down. I realized that a referee with some people, referees can go kidnap their pet and kill it in the street, and they're still going to go, but they make these mistakes sometimes. But it's just, I'll say this. I do have a friend at Tiger Tom's, Tim, who used to ref, I think, just a bunch of sports, all ages, that kind of thing. And he cheers for Nebraska, but he's not a rah-rah to death Nebraska fan. And I was talking about it one night and asked him for his thoughts. And he said, I have never seen anything like what Nebraska's gone through the last several years. He goes, I've never seen it in reffing. He goes, bad calls here, bad calls there. Sure. He goes, they even out, and they never even. If Nebraska, it's been so one-sided that Nebraska would have to get the benefit like that for 10 straight years to truly even it out. And the longer it goes on, it's never going to even out, even if they do clean it up. But yeah, he just said, I'm a ref. I've done everything. I've never seen this. So it's good now that nationally they're going, hey, and it wasn't just the one call that you apologized for. It's a lot of marks, a lot of overturned or reviews. It was a bunch of everything. And it was some guy who I think had said he was not Vanderbilt, but maybe a Mississippi fan or something like that, who said he happened to be watching the game and just was like, I've never just seen. He goes, every time Nebraska started to do something, here came a flag or a crappy mark. He goes, because my complaint is it doesn't go on beginning to end, just nonstop. It's very surgical. They just take their moments to, hey, take that first down back, take that long gain on first down back. No, get them a little closer to the end zone. Get it if they're on offense. Get them a little farther away if they're in the red zone. Just let's do little things here and there. Here's a touchdown. Up, get that late flag out. The late flags sometimes are just ridiculous. So fun to feel like it's okay to say that now. And I'm interested to see how things go next week, because it's UCLA, one of the newbies. Do we get the treatment? Do we suddenly become one of the good guys? And hey, we want Nebraska going to a bowl because that's money for the conference, and don't need them losing to UCLA. And if we can give Nebraska some calls, yeah, we can dream. Guys, thanks for joining us tonight. As always, we will see you next week. Remember to give Resball a look on Netflix if you get a chance. I stand behind it. And I guess we will see you all, as I just said, next Tuesday. Might be a little tired. Good night, everybody. What am I saying? And go Big Red.